Hello everyone, my name is Garrett Blackwood. Welcome back to the vlog. I'm here at the Hustler Casino. Like always, I'm here to play 5-5-10 today. I'm not sure when this is going to be released, but this is the first session after I played on the Hustler livestream. So going from playing 40k pots to raising the $30 under the gun is going to be a lot of fun. But let's get straight into the action today. We're going to check out some hands. Yeah, let's go. All right, into the grind we go, sitting down at 1:15 p.m. into a pretty regular looking 5-5-10 game. I'm in for $1,500, plenty of rebuys in the backpack if needed, plenty of small pots to start us off today. Nothing vlog-worthy happens for the first 30 minutes or so before I finally pick up a decent hand. I'm under the gun with the ace queen of hearts. I raise it on up to $30. It folds all the way around to the small blind. He's an unknown pro who's been playing very solid, pretty tight, aggressive style so far. He puts in the 3-bet to $130. The middle blind is going to cold call all in for $120, so he's all in. And then the big blind is going to cold call as well. Now, I know the big blind is playing a wide range here, and I know that the small blind is aggressive, so there's definitely merit to 4-betting here, folding out the other two guys and playing heads up with the all-in player with some of the dead money in there. The question is, do we want to 4-bet to like $500 or do we want to just shove it in? I think both options are fine, but I decide to just shove all in. The small blind is the only one I'm really worried about here. If we get through him, our plan is going to work. Sure enough, he does make the fold. The big blind calls me a fucker and folds as well. We're heads up against the middle blinds. King jack offsuit. Really good that we've got this in here with all the dead money in. Hoping to hold. Good start flopping top pair. Safe turn, but a nasty straight completing river rolls off to give my opponent this pot. A tiny bit disappointed as I wanted to win with all that dead money in there, but it's not to be. I was actually chatting with the guys and looking at buying Lakers tickets on my phone just before this hand happened, and the boys at the table needle me by saying if I just held there, that was the tickets paid for. Fuckers. All right, not long after this, I'm in the small blind with queen 10 of hearts. It folds round to the button, who raises it on up to $35. He's a buddy of mine, but there's no friends at the poker table. I put in the 3-bet to $135. The middle blind folds, as does the big blind, and my opponent makes the call. We're heads up to the flop here, which is queen 9-7 with 2 clubs. Really good start here with top pair and the backdoor draws. I decide to c-bet here for $150. Very standard stuff. My opponent makes the call to the turn. It's another queen. I've now got 3 of a kind, and I want to keep building this pot. Charges, draws, charges second and third pairs. I bet out again for $275. Unfortunately, my opponent makes a very quick fold. He is the guy that I'm going to the Lakers game with. I told him if he called me down there, he'd have been paying for my seats. What fun we've got so far. All right, bit of a slow start to the day for us all here. The action is not great, but that's all going to change when Mike X sits down. He's an absolute legend. He plays on the stream. He immediately gets people to put their phone away and start chatting and straddling and stuff like that. I love playing with this guy. The game is still very tough, but at least it's a little more fun and there's a little more action. I'm going to lose a bunch of small pots here to bleed down a little bit, but a couple of healthy straddles are going in as well, which I am involved in. That puts me down $335 so far for the day. The straddle is now permanently on. We're playing 5-5-10-20 with a $1,500 cap. Next up, I am in the big blind with 5-4 offsuit. There have been a few limps, and it's $10 more to me, so I, of course, make the call. The straddle decides to check. We go 5 ways to the flop, which is Jack 6-3 with 2 spades. I've got an open-ended straight draw, so I immediately take a stab for $60. This is going to get called by the button and the middle blind. We're going to go 3 ways to the turn. It's the king of clubs. 2 flush draws on board now. I've got lots and lots of 2 pairs in my range, and it's a scary card, and this makes for a nice bluff on brick rivers. So I decide to keep on blasting, this time for $250. I get 1 call from the button. The middle blind folds. We're going heads up to the river, which is the deuce of hearts. Such a beautiful river. I've got the absolute nuts, and all I got to do is decide between shove or check call. If I check call, I'm going to let him bluff his missed flush draws. I think both options are completely fine here. I actually randomized for 75% shove and 25% check call. It lands on shove, so I move all in. And he snap folds while showing his missed spade draw face up. If only that had landed on check there. He's definitely the bluffy type of guy, so he would have for sure gone for it. And I would have won an even bigger pot, but I certainly can't complain. An absolute ping on the river there to give me the nuts. And I'm dragging in a very nice pot. All right, next up, I'm in the small blind with queen jack offsuit. The cutoff is limp for $20. He's the guy from the previous hand, and I put in the eyes lay. I go slightly bigger out of position here. I make it $100 to go. He's going to make the call. We're going heads up to the flop here. Jack 7-5 with 2 clubs. I decide to check and let my opponent do the betting for me. He obliges in the form of $100. I, of course, make the call. The turn is an offsuit 8. Some straights get there, some 2 pairs get there. So when I check and my opponent bets again for $200, I see no other option than to just call and pray that we get a clean river. To the river, it is a king. It's an overcard to the board. I check again. Happy to see my opponent check back. I turn over my queen jack. He starts to turn his over, which is never a good sign, but he's showing us all that he's got queen 7 offsuit. His kicker does not play. I am going to scoop in this pot, which is going to put me up almost $600 for the day, starting to move in the right direction here, kicking on and winning a few pots. All right, having a 4-figure day now, and it's not even 3:30 p.m. Next up, I'm in straddle with ace-10 offsuit. We've got a couple of local legends in the game. Podcaster Charlie Wilmuth has raised under the gun to $50, and stream legend DK is in the game now. He makes the call from the big blind. Who am I to turn down the chance to play with 2 absolute legends of Los Angeles poker? I, of course, make the call. We go 3 ways to the flop, which is queen, jack, 7, rainbow. Pretty good start here. I've got an overcard and a gut shot to the absolute nuts. We check it on over to Charlie and he decides to check back. King 1 time on the turn. It's the next best thing. It's an ace. Interestingly enough, DK is now going to lead out for $125. I'm a little surprised by this, and I don't love it with Charlie behind, but I, of course, make the call. Happy to see Charlie get out of the way. We're heads up in position here. To the river, it's an offsuit 4. My opponent bets again for $250. Don't love it, but of course, never folding. I make the call, and he grumpily says, I got it, and mucks his hand. I thought maybe I was beat that time. Even though he does love to bluff, it was a bit of a strange spot for him to lead out twice in, but I'll definitely take it as we drag in yet another. Okay, that's trash. I don't have to talk to you. I know. 1 year maximum. So to clarify what's just happened, the 5-5 table next to us has gotten to showdown on ace-ace-king 6-3 with ace-king versus kings, and they think they've hit the bad beat jackpot. They're super happy, they're screaming, they think they've chopped up 40k each, but then they realize they don't actually win. It's got to be aces full of kings to qualify. Really bad beat for them, but I couldn't not include this today. This is one of many things that happens all the time in casinos in all of America, but rarely do they get it wrong like this. All right, it must have been 221 hands since I last got aces, because in this hand I look down at, yep, you guessed it, pocket aces. A very, very tight player has raised pre-flop to $60 in middle position. I'm on the button and of course put in the 3-bet to $200. It folds back around to my opponent and he goes deep into the tank. I'm getting really excited here because as he tanks, if he 4-bets here, he's just got kings or queens and I'm just going to get the money in very, very often. But after a very, very long tank, he reaches for chips and just falls. Tiny bit anticlimactic, but still we're heads up to a flop here with pocket aces, and it comes down ace 5-4 rainbow. Top set in a 3-bet pot is never a bad thing, and once again my opponent goes deep into the tank. He hasn't checked to me yet. Is he thinking of leading? Does he know the rules? This is a strange spot to start tanking in, but eventually he does check it on over to me, and even though I've got this board on lockdown, I still decide to c-bet. I bet out for $150, and after all that tanking, he makes a very, very quick fold. Absolute monster with these aces here. How about we go 2 for 2 with pre-flop monsters? Very, very next hand, I pick up ace-king offsuit. And once again, I'm doing the 3-betting. This time I'm in the cutoff versus the hijack. Once again, my opponent makes the call. We're going heads up to the flop here. It is ace-king 8. Absolutely smashing these flops today. Again, I am c-betting here for a small size. This time $125. My opponent isn't going anywhere just yet. He makes the call. To the turn, it's an offsuit 9. He checks to me, and I absolutely want to keep building a pot here. If he's got a hand like ace-queen or ace-jack or ace-5 or turn 2 pair, I want to get as much money in as quickly as possible. I bet again for $375, setting up for the river jam, but unfortunately we get a very quick fold on the turn. My opponent tells me that he's got jack 10 suited for a folded double gutter on the turn, but we absolutely want to still keep building the pot here with such a strong hand. Bet jamming is always going to be the best option here instead of trying to trap my opponent on the turn. So I'm happy to risk losing my customer with this turn bet, because when he does have a hand, we're just going to win more money long term. All right, very, very smooth day so far for me today. About 4 hours in, I'm up about $1,500. I've barely lost a pot. Lots of fun at the table as well today. As is shown in this hand, I'm not going to edit this one. I'm just going to play the clip. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Who else? Check. Check.
Such a disappointing flop. Ace.
Check.
Ace queen.
Good call. I just have ace queen.
Ace queen.
Good call. You got it. You didn't call it with worse.
So I was like, I knew you had ace queen on the start,
you
and
didn't
then I
call
was
it
like,
worse
I
than
should have
that,
guessed the
did
queen
you?
was strong.
You want to chop?
Chop these nuts.
After politely declining to chop these nuts, I then spend the next 2 hours playing very, very few pots of note. Tons of small pots going against me now, which is absolutely fine. It's just part of the game. We then get a round of $40 straddles on the go, and when I am in the $40 straddle myself, I pick up this beautiful ace queen of hearts. It folds round to the small blind, who limps in for 40. The big blind is then going to put in the raise to $175, and I decide to get real sneaky here and just flat. This might look really nitty, but I don't want to 4-bet and get jammed on, and I'm also very, very happy to keep this limper in the pot. So I get a little trappy here and just call. The limper comes along as well. We go 3 ways to the flop here. It is ace 4 deuce with 2 diamonds. Great start for me here. And when it checks on over to me, I think we have a very clear bet. I fire out a bet of $225. Lots of value to be had from my opponents. They've got gut shots and flush draws and things like that. But unfortunately, both players fold. I had set the trap and they've somehow managed to step over it. Once again, after this hand, I go through a very dry spell of just not playing many hands. I play for another hour or so before putting a pin in it for the day. I finish up $1,415. Such was the camaraderie of me and my table mates today. I actually did the outro with them at the table. What a bunch of legends we had in the game today. Really, really enjoyable session here at the Hustler Casino. Thanks as ever for tuning in. If you've enjoyed the show, click that sub button. Until next time, take it easy. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this session. I beat these bums for $1,400. It was a lot of fun. They're all fucking terrible. They're so bad. Especially this guy with the hat on. He's the worst player in the whole casino. Alright, that'll do it. Until next time, take it easy.